ACM, Hojka, CM, CIA. Jiskalutsan snot to Slewatu. Jifiopanon snot to Slewatu Squamish. I wanted my brother to speak before me so he could give us a blessing in our language. You know, our words cannot be interpreted very well into English. We lose some meaning. That's one of the teachings that I heard when he talked about our families coming together. There are beautiful words for that, about what it means to be connected to one another. When you say a word in a certain way, it would share the connection that we have as blood, but also for the land and the water and the connections to the earth. It's so important to have that. We use that as a crutch for our people to help us through hard times. When our population of Tsleil-Waututh went down to 17, from about 15,000, we used our culture as a crutch to build ourselves up to where we are today. We used it to help us. We used the fundamentals of our culture that he spoke of in our language, of love and respect and honor and dignity, pride and compassion and understanding and truth. That's what he spoke of when he said those words. We use those things to build ourselves up. That's where we try to come from as a nation of people to make decisions for our future generations. Our economic development success that we have at Tsleil-Waututh doesn't support a 1% of our community like in Canada, like Kinder Morgan. The $71 million a day that they get out of the Alberta tar sands that go in the pockets of those owners isn't something that they share with everybody here. It isn't something that they share with the homeless. It isn't something that they share to rehabilitate the land. Tsleil-Waututh, we invested back into our waters. Our salmon count was under 3,000 10 years ago. Because the efforts that we took in rehabilitating the Indian Arm, our salmon count went up to 100,000. We did elk reintroduction programs into the Burrard Inlet up to the Indian Arm. First time in years, my people were able to hunt that elk. But we don't tag the salmon and see it's a Tsleil-Waututh salmon, or tag the elk and see you can't look at it because it's ours. Our actions of what we do are for everybody. The reason why we as a nation step forward, because of this flawed process of the National Energy Board, who are seen as allies with these pipelines. Canada's allies with these pipelines. Harper's looking out for his buddies and his friends. Because they're doing that and they're unable to look out for the people. Because they're unable to look out for the government. Government's unable to look out for the lands and the waters. We as the Tsleil-Waututh people, we will look out for you and our land and water, and that's why we're suing them. That's why we're bringing them to court. You know, it would have been easy for any of the nations across our land to negotiate with these oil companies. I know myself, growing up in poverty and having family, some of my family still today in poverty. That's why with our economic success, we supplement back into those healing programs to help our people. It would have been easy because some of my people are still suffering. It would have been easy to negotiate for millions of dollars from these companies and put it to saving some of the lives of some of the people that are suffering. But like most of the First Nations in British Columbia that signed the Fraser Declaration, over 170 nations that also could use that money to help them, to help their communities. They're saying no because what I said in the beginning, our culture and our spirituality and our language has taught us something about how to be. And it taught us how to love the land. What we do know is we use our land and our culture and the waters as a crutch to build us up as a people, to help us to be strong. And because we have that love and connection to the lands and waters, there's no price tag that you can put on it. That's why we say no. ask you to use that as an example. We as nations have come together, put aside our differences, and come together as one. What we say in our language is Natsamat, of one heart and one mind and one people. I look out to all of you and your beautiful faces. I see the diversity of this crowd. I see all the races and ages represented, from babies to the elders. Just like the 71% of Burnaby residents supporting Tsleil-Waututh Nation in a poll, saying they support Tsleil-Waututh and Sioux in Canada. What I see out here is the diversity of our country, the diversity of who we are. What that taught us with that poll is if Canadian residents are properly educated on the true facts of this destruction that this causes, everybody will want to make better choices for their future generations. Everybody will want to make choices for our kids and our lands and our waters. And it all could be rehabilitated. And the $71 million that they get and $1.6 billion annual subsidies that our Canadian government gives to these fossil fuel companies has to change. But still, we're not going to rely on the government. No. Because we're just going to stop it. Like my brother said, our culture teaches that. I could stand and speak in conviction about our culture because I'm taught how to connect with one another with the most powerful tools, love. But I could also stand in conviction with those same teachings and say, this will not happen. It will not happen. So I thank you, the people, for uniting together. I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, and I love you for that. I love you for your courage and your strength to want to stand up and do something. Stand up and say no. Stand up, and like my mother says, she does say that. We had a referendum in our community and we're going to vote, and she said nobody's going to sit down when we say no. She said each and every one of you are going to stand up and you're going to warrior up, and I thank you for warrioring up. Hosian.